Hello, agentpreneurs, and welcome to the Daily List Report. As always, I'm Randy Shiozaki. I'm one of the founders of ListReports. Hopefully, you're all using it every single day. And I'm also the host for this show. We've got a great program today. We've got Moses Hall joining us. Moses Hall is the founder and managing broker at MoHall Commercial and Urban Development. He's originally from Queens, New York, based now in Chicago. We're going to hear all about his story. He was named a 30 Under 30 award recipient. Started his first company actually back in 2012. It was called MoHall Lofts. And then he's moved into the commercial and urban development business. And again, we're going to hear all about that. While you're here, I've got a couple of his sites up. The links are below, right? So we've got MoHall Commercial Urban and Urban Development. You can learn more about that. He's got a pretty active Facebook page. I've got that linked here as well, so you can check that out. And then, of course, Instagram, which is a popular place to be. We've got that linked here as well, so check him out at MoHall Commercial. All right. So, well, of course, while you're here, I always forget this. I'm so bad at this. I'm a terrible YouTuber because I have to remind you guys to subscribe, right? So make sure you subscribe to this channel. Click the little bell so you don't miss any of these episodes and these amazing guests that we have on. So without further ado, Moses, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my insight and experience in the entrepreneur world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Moses, I didn't even tell you this, but we call our agents agentpreneurs, right? So we call them the agentpreneurs of List Reports because real estate agents have to hustle. They are like entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely. I love that. I might have to steal that from you guys.
You won't be the first one, so take it with my blessing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Moses, as we were talking about prepping for this show, this is like typical work from home, right? Internet issues, and I've got people outside that are chainsawing trees right now. So we're going to do our best to keep this quiet. But this is what we all have to deal with, right? We've got people who have young children at home. They have to help them with schooling and they have to work. We've had to balance more than ever before this year. So, hey, Moses, what I always do is I give my guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. I want everyone to get to know who Moses is. So why don't you take it away and give a brief introduction on who you are?
So I appreciate the opportunity of being on this show. I look forward to sharing my journey of how I transitioned from Queens, New York as a musician to transferring to Chicago, Illinois, and building an empire in the commercial real estate industry.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, Moses, right away, right, what I noticed was you got some cool stuff on the walls behind you, right? It looks like you surround yourself with people who inspire you. You said you started in music. I want to talk about
Yeah.
that for a second. So, what did you do? What was your first career like, or your first life like?
So I actually grew up around music. I attended church and played in church. So I play piano and drums. And so I really have a musical background. And my parents wanted me to nurture that gift. And so they put me in various schools. So I went to performing arts high school in New York called the Fame School, where you have to audition. And I studied jazz performance. And once I graduated from the LaGuardia High School, I decided that I didn't want to be a starving artist. I didn't want to be a broke musician. And I always had that entrepreneur business insight. And so that led me to transfer from New York to Chicago to Columbia College, Chicago to study music business. And so some of the people that's on my wall have inspired me throughout the course of my life. As you see, I have Stevie Wonder. I play keys. He was kind of like the first kind of icon that I really started to study. You see Quincy Jones. You even have a sports figure, Kobe Bryant. He had that Mamba mentality, and that's kind of the mentality that I wake up every day to go out and conquer the world.
Well said. So let's talk about this for a second. Okay, so you went to Chicago, you studied music business, and at some point, you said you didn't want to be a starving musician. So maybe I'm
Right.
assuming at some point you said, "Well, I want to be in the music business. Maybe I'll be on the
Correct.
business end of music." But
Correct.
somehow you ended up in real estate. So how did that transition happen?
So I while I was in college, I interned at a music publishing licensing company. So what that means is we were responsible for putting music in different TV commercials, movies, all different types of stuff. We would pitch different songwriters and artists to music directors to have their music placed in different campaigns. So that opened up my eye to the world of the music business and publishing and licensing, which it's come full circle in my life. I recently just launched my own music publishing company where I acquire the rights to notable artists to collect royalties. And so some of the artists that I have in my catalog that I receive a check from is Grammy Award winning artist Chris Brown, R&B singer Trey Songz, and a few other notable artists that people would know of. But I started working at interning at a music publishing company. That was kind of my insight. And then also I would perform with different artists and, around the Chicagoland area. And once I graduated, I realized that all artists need a creative space. And I was like, you know what? It would be smart for me to get kind of like this cool creative artist loft and live on one side of the loft and rent out the other side to other creatives. And so that kind of birthed MoHall Lofts. And within 1 year, I had different features from Verizon Wireless Small Business Series. I was kind of on the first page when you Googled artist lofts. I had a lot of notable people and events host workshops at my space. But the issue was that it was a more intimate event space, and I started to get calls for events larger than what my space could hold. And I was doing the math on me upgrading because I was leasing this commercial space, this live work kind of space. And I was doing the math on me getting a larger size. And then I read an article. The landlord at the time, he had bought this building. It was kind of run down, and he kind of put a little money into it. And it was featured in the article. And I started doing what he paid for it, the rents that he's getting, and a light bulb went off in my head. I said, you know what? I need to learn how to do commercial investment. What did he do? How did he get that funding? How did he have the insight? And he invested in an area. When he invested, the area was run down. It wasn't, no one would dare go on that block. And then over the years, it had gentrified. And so the property value tremendously increased. And so that really opened up my eye. And I said, you know what? I need to go into the real estate field and understand commercial investments.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story. Moses, one of the things that I love about the real estate industry, I actually come from entertainment, right, prior to
Yeah.
this, right? And it's been 6 years now doing real estate, so I feel like I know a thing or two. But one of the
Yeah.
things that I see time and time again, Moses, is, the amount of flexibility and creativity that exists in this industry is really empowering.
Absolutely.
And so whether that's, a mom, and I've spoken to tons of them who need to take care of a child with disabilities and needs the flexibility to be able to do
Yeah.
that, or it's somebody who has multiple business interests, like
Yeah.
yourself, right, as it relates to your music licensing
Yeah.
company. It's just such an empowering business, and it's such an amazing place to be. It's just so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's one of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur, agentpreneur, as you say, in this field. It does afford you a flexibility to create your own schedule, but at the same token, you only eat what you kill. So you have to go out there each day and get to the money, as they say.
It's absolutely true, right? So you got that Mamba mentality, man. Like you need that, right? Because you got to push,
Right.
push, push all the time. Um, you
Absolutely.
know, so Moses, let's transition a little bit, right? So you're in the commercial space, and as I mentioned to you, most of the people listening right now are primarily residential real estate agents, but
Right.
a ton of agents that I know invest in commercial property themselves.
Correct.
Oftentimes have clients who are interested in commercial space. So
Correct.
let's talk a little bit just about what's going on in the commercial market right now from your perspective. And in particular, I would say, what opportunities have you seen where you've maybe collaborated with a residential agent on properties, or what opportunities exist for their buyers that they might want to be looking at?
Right. So I know obviously we're kind of in the middle of a transitional period in our world, but ironically, there are certain class and asset factors that are still holding on pretty strong through this pandemic. And as I kind of talked with you prior to this session, was that industrial has been holding on pretty strong. When you think about it, now that people are home more, there has been a demand. People have been ordering online more. So Amazon and other things, people are having so many packages delivered. Sometimes instead of going to the actual physical store, they'll have stuff delivered directly to their home. And where that stuff comes from, it comes from a warehouse, it comes from an industrial space. And so there has been a more increased demand for distribution, industrial spaces. And then also on the flip side, ironically, there's still been a demand for multifamily apartments. The prices have still been holding on pretty steady. There's been definitely government assistance programs that have been offered, like unemployment, stimulus check, and people have still been able to kind of two classes are still holding strong. The struggling classes right now, obviously, office is taking a beating right now because everyone's pretty much working from home. So there's not really a demand for office space. And then also retail, but depending on the type of retail, has been taking a beating. Grocer anchored tenants. So if you have what we have locally here, Aldi's or Whole Foods or anything like that, those are in high demand because they're an essential business. People need food. They're always going to be open. And those are opportunities that investors are seeking out. The ones that are struggling are, like your restaurants, your clothing brands, apparels, those type of, entities are struggling or cutting back. Even big name brands like H&M, they realize that their online ordering has gone tremendously up. And so they start to close down physical locations because of the online demand.
Interesting. Moses, let me ask you a question. I live in the suburbs, okay?
Yeah,
And there's a handful of these like business parks that are not too far from me, and they're offices, right? They're not industrial, they're not warehouse. These are offices. They're single story or maybe 2 or 3 story max. And I always wondered, I was like, it's just filled with like local attorneys and things like that. I'm
right,
just curious your perspective. Like now that I'm working from home, I was actually walking by one just yesterday, and I was looking at it. I was like, oh, I wonder if people are going to work closer to home in that sense. Like, even when we can go back, like, has the dynamic
right,
changed? One of the things that we think a lot about here at List Reports, Moses, is we talk about, like, which of these changes are just going to last because, frankly, they're just better, right? Like, in the past,
right,
I might have had to hit you up and be like, hey, Moses, I want you to come on the show. And, like, maybe you had to, like, fly out or something because
right,
we had to be in the same studio. And now
right,
we can just pop on, like, today. We could do it tomorrow afternoon. It doesn't really
right,
matter. And it's so
right,
much easier. And we give up some stuff, but it's easier. So I
right,
don't know what the question is other than to say, like, what do you think coming out of this is going to last as opposed to go back to normal, whatever that is
right,
anymore?
right. So I think it's going to be a hybrid between the two, as kind of you mentioned. I think people still miss those personal touch to touch, interactions and relationships. I know even though people have the option to work from home, I don't think people want to work from home 5 days a week because I feel like a lot of times people are doing more work at home than they would be in the office because you have,
Amen. That's
you
so
know,
true.
you
Amen.
because you have all your Zoom meetings, everything lined up back to back versus if you were in the office, you might do a little 20 minutes here, then go to the break room, get some coffee, come back, and maybe mingle with your coworkers. But now you're in between Zoom meetings, you're running. If you have kids, you got to make sure they're okay. You have to serve them lunch. You have to do all these different things. And it becomes a little bit more challenging to work from home. I know prior to this pandemic, everyone wants to work from home because you're thinking like, oh, I can, do a little work and then go grocery shop and then come back.
Exactly.
But the working from home is actual work. And then also the problem is a lot of times people are having trouble shutting off work. How you leave the office and it's done. Now you're at home. There's really no break pattern. So I don't think people are going to be in the office 5 days a week after this, but I think it's going to be a hybrid of work from home, in person, to keep that company morale, team spirit. I think, people are going to do that. And then from a company perspective, they're not going to completely eliminate office space. They may downsize, I don't think companies are going to go back to 50,000 square feet if they know they can operate at 30,000 square feet. So I think it will be a compromise between what we were prior to this pandemic and what it's going to look like coming out. So I think it's going to be a compromise.
Yeah.
One, as a society, we have a short attention span. We're ready to move on to the next thing. And so 3, 4 years from now, it will just be like a hit gone down in history books what this pandemic was. So I don't think it's going to be permanent. I do think it's going to be a hybrid between the two. People ordering online, people going out and shop. I think people miss those personal experience. We are seeing a shift from more populated city areas to the suburbs. People are realizing, well, now if I don't have to commute 5 days a week, maybe to the downtown area, maybe I can live in the suburbs. Maybe I don't have to live as close to work. Maybe companies will start opening up smaller satellite offices. Well, instead of having 50,000 square feet at one location, we may have a satellite location of 5,000 square feet so that maybe our suburban employees can go to. So, I think it's going to be a creative hybrid of both. And, I think as a society, we will definitely move forward from this.
Yeah, I think that's totally true, Moses. And just small sample, but within the team here, within List Reports, we've asked everybody kind of what they're looking for, and I would say the clear winner, the predominant answer is, "Hey, I'd love to work from home 3 days a week, come into the office 2 days a week." Right? So they've really enjoyed being able to work from home, and I think
Right.
the more time that goes by, the more people just get sort of established in a new routine. One of the things you
Right.
talked about, people moving out of the major cities, we're seeing this clearly in San Francisco,
Yeah.
is rental prices are dropping, but what people are doing is they're upgrading, right? So if they
Yeah.
can only afford a one bedroom, now they're getting a two bedroom, or maybe they can get a three bedroom out in the burbs, right? So
Correct.
people are upgrading their spaces and they're designing them and they're getting furniture and they're getting a new routine, right? And it's going to be really
Correct.
hard to break that. But I agree with you that people are going to want to come back for some of that face to face. I'm just not convinced that we ever go back to the way it was when we're going to the office every single day and that's the
No.
culture, at least for
No.
certain
No.
companies.
Yeah. Yeah. That culture is completely dead. I doubt that we will go back to the same routine of 5 days a week and all that time. I think that's completely done. But like I said, there's going to be a hybrid of the two of what we were prior, what we are now, and
Absolutely.
companies are going to adjust that way. And like I said, I think even here in my local market, Chicago, I've seen people been going to the suburbs a lot for their activities. I mean, so many people are going to Top Golf because we don't have one here in the city.
Yeah, sure.
They're going all the way, to the suburbs. They're going go karting, pumpkin patch, all these different activities that are all the way in the suburbs because there's more open space, more open land. And then kind of to your point, Class A buildings here in the Chicagoland area are taking a beating. They're offering 2, 3 months free, to get people to move in because, like you said, people are looking for more space. A lot of those Class A buildings are more amenities filled than actual living quarters. And so people, like you said, if you're in a one bedroom, now that you're working from home 3 days a week, maybe you want a second bedroom to turn it into your office instead of having to work in your bedroom or whatever other room that you're trying to figure out. So, like I said, we're
Absolutely.
definitely seeing that trend here as well.
That makes perfect sense. Moses, let's switch gears and let's cover one more topic today. And maybe we'll get a chance, hopefully, to have you
Yeah.
back on and continue the conversation. But one of the things I talk about a lot on this show, Moses, is just personal brand, right?
Yeah.
This idea that if you're not known for something, you're not known for anything, right? So I've,
Yeah.
I've spoken to people who, one guy was a former professional surfer, and that's sort of his shtick, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
Like he gives out, surf wax with like his name on it, and like that's his thing. How
Yeah.
do you think about standing out? How do you think about your personal brand, and how were you able to identify that? How do you leverage that in your business?
So one thing that people have identified my brand with is my sense of style and fashion. You're always going to see me in a nice tailored suit, custom made suit, well put together, fresh haircut. That automatically makes me stand out when I walk into a room. People are wondering like, who is this guy? He has like a three-piece suit, and it's only
Yeah.
networking, lunch hour. So those type of things are conversation starters. I've made, as you kind of mentioned, you've attached some of my social media links. I make sure that I do a phenomenal job on keeping my brand and my marketing on social media up to par. I try to brand myself as an expert so that people look to me as a resource for real estate news or entrepreneur guidance. So that's kind of how I kind of stand out. And then also, I make sure that I get involved in my industry. I sit on the board of directors for the National Association of Realtors. I'm also involved in tons of committee groups locally and internationally. And I brand myself. I take these positions and I, brand myself as an expert in the commercial real estate field.
So, Moses, what about music? Just out of curiosity, does that
Right.
have a role in anything that you do professionally as it
Yeah.
relates to commercial real estate?
So as I mentioned, I launched my own music publishing company, and what we do is we invest in income generating catalogs. So it's almost like investing in real estate, but investing in intellectual property.
Right, it's
So
an
what I
asset
get
class.
is I get, yeah, yeah. So what I get is a history performance of how a particular song has been performing. Based on that analysis, I can extend an offer to purchase the rights to collect the royalties either for a life of the author, right? Life term rights, or maybe 10 years, 20 years, however we kind of work it out. But it's almost like assessing a real estate deal. Actually, it's a little bit better than assessing a real estate deal because you don't have to worry about vacancy. You don't have to worry about evictions. You don't have to worry about property maintenance. You don't have to worry about any of those things. It is literally like passive investing. And, so that's kind of how it ties into real estate, but also it's something that I actually enjoy is music. How cool is it to buy your favorite song that you like listening to and you get a royalty check every time that it's played on radio, every time that it's
Yeah,
streamed, every time that it's played on TV. I think that's a pretty cool feeling. So that's kind of how I combine my business knack with my love for music.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Moses, just a quick follow up on this is, when you're talking to agents, if you're coaching or advising them, how do you what do you tell them? Like, what would you tell a new agent who's coming onto the scene, trying to figure out how to differentiate, how to stand, rise above the noise, so to speak, right? What do you tell a new agent who's trying to figure out what their brand is and who they're going to be in this business?
What I tell new agents and because what's helped me is building relationships. I have built so many relationships from music to when I was doing event space to real estate. And that has truly helped me and propelled me to that next level. So that's why I really tell agents, not just only network, because networking is just, meeting someone and shaking a hand, but build that relationship with them. And that will really help you build your brand. Find your niche, find what you stand out as. And like you said, I collaborate with residential agents all the time. I've branded myself as the commercial real estate expert. And a lot of times residential agents, they get a deal and they have no clue what to do, and they can refer it to me and I offer a referral fee because they're doing, if you take on a commercial deal and you have no clue what you're doing your client a disservice. You can
Yeah.
still get paid from the deal if you refer it to a realtor or agent that knows what they're doing, and it protects your client, protects you. And so that's what I do, just network. And then opposite, I don't handle residential. I refer it out to residential agents. And so that's kind of how I built relationships and built networks and just kind of branded myself as that guy in commercial real estate.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds great. Hey, Moses, thank you so much for joining the show today. Is there any parting words or anything that I missed that you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, you can definitely connect with me all social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn Moses Hall, Facebook Moses Hall, Instagram Moses Hall. You just search Moses Hall in your search engine, and you will be able to find me. I am definitely here to help other agents and other brokers around the world. Just feel free to reach out to me, and I'm definitely here to help you guys.
I love that, Moses. That's one of the hallmark trademarks of, I think, a great agent is their willingness to give back and to share with others. So thanks for joining today, Moses, and I hope we get a chance to talk to you again real soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, Moses. Okay, well, there you have it. Another great show. Again, you can connect with Moses across all of these platforms. We've got links below. Make sure you click on those. I think, a lot of you out there have come to me and you've said, hey, what about commercial, right? So, pay attention to these things because you can get a sense for what's happening. There's sort of changing tides, right, within the commercial space, and that creates opportunities for yourselves as an investor, for your clients who might be looking to get into this. And as Moses said, and I can't agree with this more, is you got to find somebody who understands commercial to partner with on these deals because it is a whole different beast and totally different dynamics that are being impacted by lots of different factors currently. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Again, please consider subscribing. Click the little bell so you don't miss any of these episodes. And until tomorrow, be safe, be healthy, be happy. We'll see you soon. Bye.